copyright this Toei. So, a lot has been going on in the realm of Bleach. From drama, to a new game, to the anime, to the new anime, and now I'm going to discuss some of these issues. First of all, I'm not that excited for the game. I have to give my tenure first. Apparently there's a lot of drama that's been going on in the Bleach fandom and community, which, despite being a quote-unquote Bleach fan, I wasn't quite that privy to. I've been watching Bleach for a long time, and to give my opinion on it is it was one of my favorite anime, but it has issues, right? If I were to analyze like the big three or anime in general or shonen, I'd say that Bleach has a huge shonen issue. For years, I've been wanting to make videos about my favorite character, like who is Kaname Tosen, or a lot of unsung characters or themes. There's a lot to write about Bleach, but I haven't done it yet. So this is going to be my first Bleach video. Let me start with this. Bleach, like I said before, Bleach has a shonen problem. The story overly relies on Ichigo and everything that he does. Tite Kubo cannot write combat. He cannot write combat scenes. He does great with it. He's a great artist when it comes to characters and their character designs. A lot of Tite Kubo's side characters could be main characters in other anime. Like, for example, right, you have, right, like, I think people brought up his design, and I think his design looks cool. His characters are visually distinct from each other, right? Whether it's this guy, who, he has a unique facial shape and everything, unlike Dragon Ball Z, where all of the characters look the same outside of their hair. He has unique transformations. He has a unique Zanpakuto design. He has a unique transformation. He has a unique style. And this can be said for, like, you can't see it as big as... come on, don't do this to me. And it's not just him. It's like... It's a lot of characters. It's a lot of characters that have this uniqueness to their design. And why does it do that? Why am I using see, open image? No, don't do this to me. Yeah, like, he's got his own unique transformation. He doesn't just have his own unique hairstyle, Zanpakuto, which is his sword, transformation. He also has his own philosophy and battle style, right? Like, and almost every Arrancar has this, or all of them do, right? Another favorite was Findor, right? Like, look at this guy's face right here. Like, him, I thought his whole concept was cool. The fight was cool. The character backstories. But I don't want to get too much into that. Anyway, Bleach, like many anime, suffer from being shonen, right? And he can't write combat like Tite Kubo, or at least especially for Ichigo and like the main cast, where characters just win, right? Like, they just win. At some point, some of them are kind of okay, like Byakuya versus Tsukishima, but like, or actually Byakuya versus Tsukishima was very good, but in many cases, characters just win. So, calling Bleach mid for like all of its shortcomings, which there are many, right, is not a bad assessment of it. So, there's a little bit of drama. No. What do we talk about first? We're gonna talk about. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna get into the drama in a little bit, but first, let's talk about the game. So I have some gameplay here in the background. And what I have to say about the gameplay is there's this constant debate between arena fighters and fighting games. Fighting games are considered to be good, while arena fighters are viewed as like more so mid. This is another video I have in the making, but in short, 2D fighting games were made with the idea of restrictions in mind. Gaming technology was limited back then, so they worked with what they had. The problem now is that because a 2D fighting game is like often a very easy way to just make an anime game, like make a 2D fighting game and give it an anime coat of paint. I am not a huge fan of this like philosophy of game design at all, and I think that games, especially anime games, should lean into what they're good at, right? And the goal of the game developer should be to recreate the anime, which almost never happens. It almost never happens. Like, there are some nods and winks in this game as well as Sparking Zero to like the anime that it came from, but it's never quite enough. The battles don't quite play out the same, although surprising at the Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero backlash, Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero will without a doubt be a much better representation of. Had to drool over no Centaur form for a second. Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero and Budokai Tenkaichi will be one of the greatest anime representations of all time, right? Because the battles flow like they do in the anime. Bleach, and in many anime, the backgrounds are a huge part of the combat. Like, if you look at Ichigo versus Grimmjow, for example. I mean, anyway, so the problem is, also Naruto Boruto Ultimate Ninja Storm. I mean, Naruto Boruto, I think it's called Ultimate Ninja Storm, is also a great representation because in Naruto, characters use stealth, which it happens at least a little bit. If you just put everything into a 2D fighting arena, not arena, but like, you know, a 2D plane, you cannot have Naruto combat on a 2D plane. It's just not Naruto. It's a 2D fighter with an anime coat of paint. And like I said before, that's what most people are content with. There are several things like dodging, Sero's, even Ichigo's like rapid movement when he's fighting Byakuya, when he first uses his Bankai. A lot of moves, like what happens is a lot of moves get converted to like attacks, right? Like, hold on. So what they do is they shoot their Sero into Nell, like at Nell, and she like absorbs the Sero and shoots it back at Noitora or Noitra, whatever. The problem is the way the move actually works is she should be able to absorb any Sero, right? Like, or maybe not any, I don't know the limits of it, but she can essentially, like, if a Cero gets shot at her, um, she should be able to absorb it and then redirect it. But that isn't, as far as what's happening here is actually happening, right? Again, a lot of moves and techniques they're not used in the way that they're actually used in the anime. They're not actual abilities in most cases. Instead, they're like just kind of nods, right? It's, again, the effort to actually put these systems into the game, there isn't a good enough effort to actually put, like, because they could have done that, right? With a lot of characters, they could do it. And my biggest thing with anime games is I want a developer to one-to-one create an anime game and translate it from the anime into a game format. But instead, they almost never do that. One Piece Burning Blood is a great... Let me put some One Piece Burning Blood gameplay. One Piece Burning Blood, they tried, right? They tried, but like Law's Room, right? That's an, like, Gamma Knife should be like as soon as it hits you, the clock, like your HP should continually drain until the fight's over. Maybe it shouldn't be that easy, but he actually uses his room, right? And there are limitations, but it's not like all of his room attacks are just special attacks, you know? So, like, he actually puts up a barrier. And many of these moves are only possible in the arena format. Some of them not, but many of them would be a little bit gimped if it weren't in the arena format. So anyway, let's get back to Bleach. So if you look at, like, Shinji, people were actually, like, upset that some people were, I wouldn't say they were upset. Basically, Shinji's move, his Sakanade, what it does is it reverses the direction, your sense of direction. But it doesn't actually do that in the game, right? And some people are saying, oh, that would be too broken. I'm like, well, that, I don't have a problem with that personally. Like, make the game. Like, how many times are we going to get a 2D fighter with an anime coat of paint? You know? I mean, it's just kind of like... So, I mean, I'm not that excited because, especially being a 2D fighter instead of an arena game, it throws away many aspects of it actually, like, trying to be like a recreation. So for that reason, I'm not particularly excited. You know, I'm not particularly excited for it, right? There are some things that they do, right? But as a Bleach fan, I haven't seen the latest anime yet. I can't be too incredibly excited for it. I mean, like, even if you look at, like, the different bankais, or the different bankai, because there's no S form in Japanese language, they don't, in many cases, they don't actually work how the abilities actually work. Some of them are just mostly nods, but they're not particularly, like, whether it be Ashi Konjiki, Like, whether it be like Mayuri, right? His Bankai, his Bankai, like, it would be really cool to be able to have, like, the canon. See, look, his Bankai is just there in the background while they fight. That's not how he uses his Bankai. In fact, I don't even know if he has access to his sword in his Bankai, right? Like, his Bankai is just there in the background, right? It's just disappointing. But this isn't what a lot of people actually want, I guess. Like, it's just, I want to use the Bankai. And the only way to be able to fight it would be in a arena form where you would have to use your Flash Step or your Sonido to maneuver around the Bankai and try and attack him. And again, like, some of it, there's some nods, but that's not good enough. So it's disappointing. And then we have to talk about Tosin as well. It's the same thing. They actually give him a Bankai where his Bankai, like, makes him invisible. But, I mean, at this point, what's the point of him being invisible when we're fighting on a 2D plane and your character is automatically facing, like, in 2D fighters, your character always faces the enemy. So when he uses his Bankai, it's like you already know where he is and where to attack. And then once you get within a certain range, he becomes visible, which isn't how his Bankai works at all. I'm glad they went this far, but the actual functionality of the Bankai in the game is without a doubt going to be limited. These trailers are not long enough. Yeah, the character analysis of Tosin. A lot of people hated Tosin at first. I mean, maybe if they, like, watch the anime. And then a lot of these techniques aren't actually how the attacks actually work. But Tosin, like, getting hit from Chad is, like, complete disrespect. But maybe I'm wrong. I've never played the game, but I just doubt that it's actually going to work that way. And again, a lot of these, like I said, are limitations to the game, or from the game, being in a 2D space. And yeah, like this comment, a lot of attacks are in fact cutscenes. Yeah. So overall, and then of course there's like small things like the Hakama. Like, so like if you look at gameplay, there's like little things that I wish they would have gone the distance for. I'm trying to find a good character match for this. But like if you look at the Hakama, like the Hakama are not as expressive as they are in Bleach. That's one of the like things that I would have loved to see. They have some jiggle physics, you know, like my sleeve, which is like not weighted the best, but it has some jiggle physics. But the Hakama don't move like they should, right? And that's one of the things that I would like to have seen. If I can find it. There's this one particular scene that, like, I don't even know if it's... Watch me get, Watch me get a content ID'd. Like, there's this particular scene, right? Look at the way Grimmjow's Hakama are moving. I'm gonna try and obscure it a little bit so I don't get ID'd, but look at that. Notice how they kind of stay together at the bottom a little bit and they plume out, right? Look at that. See that? That is what I want to see, and they could do it. I don't doubt that it might be a little tough the way, like, you know, because you don't see that, right? You don't see it. I'm trying to find, there's like a particular scene that I'm trying to find. But anyway, there's a way that it can be done, right? I'm not... There's a way that it can be done, but I don't know. But basically, like, the way that Hakama are actually drawn in Bleach are, like, very particular, right? And the way they're animated. And I just don't think, like... As a fan of the series, I want to see Bleach... like, and I want to see other anime animated or adapted into a game form. So that's why, and see, there's the fighting game community that comes in and they say that they want to see, like, Bleach in terms of a fighting game, right? And if there isn't enough, like, backlash, I shouldn't say backlash, but, like, if there isn't enough, like, people that are outspoken and talking about, like, certain issues, what's going to happen is there's going to be, like, a reinforcement of certain, like, game styles and game mechanics, right? Because as a community, I think people should be outspoken in terms of, like, you know, voicing. And again, this is probably going to be good enough for a lot of people, but, like, what is the voice of the community going to be, right? How many, like, active voices can there be out there? Again, my main issue, if it were an arena fighter, and I know people hate arena fighters, if it were an arena fighter, there'd be things that you'd be able to do. Like, certain things that you'd be able to do, certain combat styles you'd be able to do. Dragon Ball Z, Sparking Zero. I don't care what anyone has to say. I know people, like, actually, like... And I do have criticisms of the game, right? Like, and again, Sparking Zero definitely has its issues, right? But, like, if you look, this, he's using Master Roshi. It's like they're using, like, I want to show, like specific characters, not like. That's one of the issues, the characters that they use. 11 months ago. Sparking Zero came out 11 months ago? Almost a year? No way. No. It's kind of lame seeing Gogeta versus, like, it's... Anyway. So, if you look at this fight, this is what Dragon Ball Z looks like. This is Dragon Ball Z. Like, Oh, Sparking Zero has... Yeah, Sparking Zero... Shut up. Like, just shut up for a second. This is Dragon Ball Z. This is what, like, the combat looks like. I know, like the constant movement. The fact that you can't put the controller down for an instant. People are always countering and moving, and there's all of these different types of clashes and beam struggles and high-speed movement. Like, even the teleporting behind the enemy over and over is kind of, indicative of combat in Dragon Ball Z. Of course, it needed to be tuned a little bit, and they did tune it. I know the player base has fallen off, but when you look at this, it's not perfect, but there's many aspects of this combat that is Dragon Ball Z. From the Z searching to the powering up to combos and the constant back and forth, sending someone flying, it could be better. It could be better, but this is like Fighter Z is a much worse adaptation of the Dragon Ball Z anime and manga, or specifically the anime. So, if we go from Sparking Zero back to Bleach Rebirth of Souls, you'll see that it doesn't quite match the Bleach anime as much. There's a lot of things that are just held back on. Some things they do get right, but ultimately, because of that, it's like, I'm not incredibly excited for it. Like, the things that you could do with Flash Step in a 3D environment are probably insane. There's actually a Bleach game that did attempt this, though. So this is one of the other times, I can't emphasize enough, it makes me remember or realize just how important Flash Step is to combat in Bleach. Flash Step is, in fact, very important in Bleach combat, and mastering Flash Step in Sonito, but it isn't really its own unique ability in the new game. Now, again, a lot of this video is going to come across as me saying, well, the new game, Rebirth of Souls, should just be an arena fighter. But it's beyond that. And this game isn't, I wouldn't call it perfect either. What I want to see is a Bleach game, right? With all of the Bleach quirks, right? Now, they do have the, walking on air thing, but the gameplay seems slow, right? It seems very, very slow. This one, of course, might be too fast-paced, and there isn't enough of an emphasis on close combat, because there's a close combat aspect and a ranged combat aspect to Bleach. I don't like how when he uses his Bankai, the whole terrain transforms, but anyway. That's my point, right? People would probably see this and not be impressed, but I think it's very impressive. This is, after all, a Nintendo Wii game, and there weren't that many games out there like it. We also did have a 2.5D Bleach game, but they did invent a lot of moves for characters, but at least you get to see some of the techniques work as intended, instead of just some some moves, of course, couldn't be adapted completely. I don't know how they would do Tosen's Bankai, because of course Tosen's Bankai would be completely overpowered. It just makes you realize, because it's a part of Kubo being a hack writer, right? Because Tosen did have his wins, but it's it's just not fair, right? Imagine imagine, right? Imagine that. Um, imagine that like your screen just turns black when Tosin uses his Bankai. Your screen just turns black. Like that would just be. That would just be. I mean, it would be difficult to balance, but there are probably some things you could do. Like Tosin's Bankai has a range. But anyway, ultimately, if I had to really like comment on the gameplay, I'm not particularly excited because it's not going to be for Bleach. A Rebirth of Souls isn't going to be for Bleach what Sparking Zero is for Dragon Ball Z. And of course, a lot of people criticize Sparking Zero, and there are definitely things to criticize about Sparking Zero, but I never thought I'd be here defending it. Again, one of the problems with this game is that the close quarters combat isn't like there is blocking, but it's not as like exchangey enough. It doesn't. There's not a good enough of an exchange of blocking, parrying, close dodging. The range emphasis is like there's a lot of emphasis on range and distance and closing distance and things like that, which is a huge part of Bleach, but it doesn't really get the close quarters combat that good. And even seeing Renji's Bankai, how it's like this, instead of let's actually like it goes in the ground, which is kind of weird, but there is this huge like creature there, and it could be tweaked a little bit. Let's compare Renji and Rebirth of Souls. I keep forgetting the name of the game for some reason. A quick comparison. Can't wait to see his Bankai. I wonder if he goes Shikai from the start. Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah, like that. I like that. That's good. I like to see it. He is fighting like how he would fight in the anime. But like not all characters get the same treatment. By the way, Byakuya's Senbou and Sakura looks like absolute garbage. Okay, fair enough. They didn't do with his Bankai like what they did with Kurotsuchi's, where it's just like in the background most of the time, outside of special attacks. And of course, many characters do, like I said before, only have special attacks. Like, I don't know what they would do for Akira, like would each attack be slower when he hits you with his Shikai? I think one of the beauties about actually doing that, like actually converting an anime into a game form, is that you get to test out the anime, right? If an anime is a theory, then the game is the testing of that theory. So ultimately, like I said before, there are many things to like about this game, I guess, but there's a part of it that's slow. We'll see when it comes out what it's actually like. There are some disappointments. Like I hear that Soifone actually gets her ability with Suzume Bachi, where it's a 2-tap kill. So that's fair enough. Gin, of course, Gin Ichimaru. So this is becoming like a character review, but like the thing about Gin is like this, okay. But his Bankai. Gin should be able to attack you from any range. But there's just like a limit, you know? I don't know. So part of me, the aesthetics, while fine, definitely great. I'm not too happy about the Hakama. The combat on some level it feels kind of slow. I do like how they block, like whenever they don't actually get hit. Like anytime you hit another character, instead of them actually getting hit, instead they just like their weapon gets knocked away. So I do like that. Some moves I do like, but again, there's too many moves that are techniques that are just like special attack cutscenes instead of actually getting to use the weapon in that way. I haven't seen all of these trailers, but I've seen some of them. Yeah, I guess I'd have to get my hands on the game, but like I said, suffice to say that the game isn't quite so anyway, now we're going to get into the drama a little bit. The problem that I have with individuals coming into this community from like the fighting game community is that they want Bleach to be a fighting game, right? And me, what I want to see is I want to see more games, more anime adapted into a game at any and all costs. I want to see that adaptation to make the moves and techniques in their forms to work as closely as they can to the anime. And like if it's kind of crazy, if it's kind of unbalanced, fine with that. But of course, you know, people like this Mike Hollow guy, he's going to want the game to be a fighting game. Like, I don't know where we go from here, and to one of his points, which I'll probably address this whole drama in another video. To one of his points, I don't know to what extent, like, if you look at, for example, like, No Man's Sky, right? There's backlash against No Man's Sky, and they fixed a lot of the issues. There's other games where like there's backlash, and then the developer will fix issues based on the backlash. Even like in Dragon Ball Z Sparking Zero, there was an incident where people are stalling by just flying up and flying down, and it was fixed. Like, there's a lot of issues that do get fixed if the community speaks up enough, right? And if the community gets together and says, we want a Bleach game, we want fan service, right? Perhaps, right? Perhaps, you know, there's a chance that it's noted, right? I don't know, maybe, but there's a chance. I don't really understand a lot of the arena fighter hate, why people hate arena fighters so much, but they're often better environments for anime to actually make use of all of the character abilities and techniques, as opposed to a 2D environment, which negates a lot of the 3D interactions. So anyway, this is coming up next, but that's my video. I'm not a Bleach tuber. I definitely plan on making Bleach videos in the future about my favorite characters and aspects of Bleach. I could probably have some really interesting debates with DB Zimran and James Hansen. But that's going to be it for now. I will plan on picking up the game, and perhaps after playing it for a little while, we're going to give a little bit more of an advanced, in-depth look at what the game is, what the game does, what the game doesn't do. My mind isn't going to change about, what I would like to see in a game, right? Again, and unfortunately, I would say that 2D fighters are, look, we have Street Fighter, we have Mortal Kombat, we have games that are making a resurgence, such as Virtua Fighter. We have Dungeon Fighter, we have Grand Blue Fantasy. We have all of these 2D fighting games that are that, right? Why can't we have an anime game that is its own thing, instead of just copying the formula, right? And we do have older Bleach games like not Heat the Soul, but Soul Resonance, I think, the like Musou like, but we don't get too many anime games that are like really trying to be their own thing, right? We don't get too many of those. One Piece Burning Blood, like I said before, it was like a flash, right? It was like a flash in the pan. Like, we got it, certain characters could use Logia their Logia abilities, and you could just negate. You could just not get hit. Like, it's very broken. There's ways that they balanced it, but which are very commendable. But you could just Logia through attacks. Like, people, if they didn't have Haki, right? They could hit you. And of course, you have a Logia gauge, which doesn't exist in the anime, but they added it there in some form, right? And it worked just like it did in the anime with some limits. And it's like, I'm kind of okay with that kind of balance, and it's like, I'd love to see more of that in Bleach, even if it's like Shinji Shikai or something, and there's like a spiritual pressure meter, but Shinji did get to reverse your controls, and people are saying it's OP, but a lot of Bankai are OP in their own way, maybe like don't be such a hack writer and like come up with like balanced abilities that, anyway, here we go. But yeah, it's, I do like Bleach. Bleach has a lot of issues. It has lots of issues, especially with combat, like, but and consistency with characters and combat levels and whatever, but yeah, Tite Kubo is good at writing some things. Combat is not one of them. To that, I would have to give it to the creator of Naruto. He's good at writing combat and abilities, but like, in terms of abilities, like, we're not getting into that. That's a completely other tangent. That's going to be it for this video. Like I said before, we're probably going to speak on the drama a little bit. We're probably going to speak on the drama going on a little bit here. Okay, so in the future, but yeah, for now, this is where this video comes to an end.